I also ask for unanimous consent to speak for up to 15 minutes.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the decade that has passed since the devastating attacks of 9/11, we have seen enormous changes in our daily lives. For many of us, these changes have become routine. We have become more alert of potential suspicious activities, accustomed to additional screening procedures at airports, and understanding of additional security precautions in places that could be seen as potential targets for terrorists. For many other Americans, though, their lives were altered in ways that are anything but routine. These are the families, friends, and brothers in arms of those who have given their lives in the global war on terror, including the over 3,000 lives taken in the horrific attacks on our nation on September 11, 2001. This past Sunday was a somber day to reflect, remember, and honor those lives that have been cut short by terror. On Sunday morning, I spoke at my church about the impact 9/11 had on me personally and us collectively as a nation. It is important to take the time here on the U.S. Senate chamber to remember these brave heroes. We all remember where we were at the time the plane struck the towers and the awful feeling when we realized that this wasn't an accident. We remember the emotional outpouring of our nation, shared, and how the tragedy brought us all closer together. What happened after the moments of devastation on September 11, 2001, unified our nation and demonstrated the perseverance and the will of the American people. We remember the people who refused to leave an injured coworker and those who led others to safety. We remember the firefighters, the policemen, and all of the first responders who saved lives that day. Many gave their lives in doing so. And we remember the heroes at the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the brave passengers of Flight 93. We also remember all the brave servicemen and women who fought and continue to fight to keep us free. They do so by choice. They do so out of love of country, and they do so to protect our nation, our freedom, and our values. Since the 9/11 attacks, thousands of Arkansans have been deployed to far regions of the globe to fight terrorism. The Arkansas National Guard, which has historically been a reserve unit, has taken on a more active duty role in the war on terror. Units from the Arkansas National Guard have played a vital role on the war on terror, with deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq, and some units having served multiple tours on the battlefront. America's military personnel and the veterans of the global war on terror can be proud of all that they have accomplished. Their continued efforts brought Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind these attacks, to justice, along with a number of his top lieutenants and numerous Taliban commanders. They continue to battle bin Laden's fanatical followers and protect us from those who remain committed to inflicting harm on the United States. Many of the veterans from the global war on terror have returned home with permanent life-altering injuries. We have worked hard here in this body and in the House to ensure that they and all the veterans of this war receive all the care and benefits they have earned and deserve upon their return. We must continue to uphold our promise to our veterans. We must also continue to ensure that our military personnel on the battlefield have everything that they need to successfully accomplish the mission and to return home safely. According to the U.S. Central Command, more than 6,200 service members have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms in Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. Each one is a portrait of bravery. Navy Corpsman Michael Van Johnson, Jr., a native of Little Rock, was the first Arkansan killed in the battlefield in the global war on terror. He was killed while selflessly tending to wounded colleagues in Iraq. Since his death, another 101 Arkansans have given their lives for our country in the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. This year alone, we have lost 5 service members from Arkansas. At the beginning of the year, Sergeant Ethan C. Harden was killed in action in Lagar province of Afghanistan. He was killed when insurgents attacked his unit with an improvised explosive device. Sergeant Harden was 25 at the time of his death. Sergeant Harden grew up in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and was remembered by his high school principal as a young man with a pleasant, likable, gentle personality. His pastor echoed those thoughts, calling Sergeant Harden a warrior who was motivated to take up arms for his country, not out of any particular hostilities towards the enemy, but rather out of a strong desire to keep our country safe. Last week, after the death of Sergeant Harden, Sergeant Zaina C. Kramer was killed in Kandahar province of Afghanistan when the insurgents attacked her unit with an IED. Sergeant Kramer was born in Texarkana, Texas, and graduated from Arkansas High School in Texarkana, Arkansas. She was 28 at the time of her death. Sergeant Kramer, friends and family say they will remember her lovely singing voice and her love of country, friends, family, and fellow soldiers, including her canine partner, Jaffa. A soldier for more than 6 years, Sergeant Kramer was assigned to the 212th Military Police Detachment as an Army dog handler. She and her canine partner were assigned to check vehicles and facilities for explosives and were carrying out a routine clearance mission when the blast occurred. In March, another IED attack in the Kandahar province once again impacted Arkansas. Army Corporal Lauren M. Buffalo of Mountain Pine, Arkansas, was only 20 years old when insurgents took his life. Corporal Buffalo was carrying on the family tradition of military service. His father and his uncle served in the Army, and his great-grandfather was a B-17 bomber pilot during World War II. His father says Corporal Buffalo was a dedicated military man who loved music, liked to hunt, and ride horses. Last month, 2 Arkansans were among the 30 U.S. service members killed when their Chinook helicopter was shot down in the Wardak province of Afghanistan. The Taliban claimed responsibility for the attack, which resulted in one of the greatest losses of U.S. military lives in a single incident in the decade-long war in Afghanistan. Most of those killed in the attack were U.S. Special Forces personnel. Navy Special Warfare Operator Senior Petty Officer Thomas A. Ratzliff of Green Forest, Arkansas, was one of those Special Forces officers killed in the attack. Senior Chief Ratzliff graduated from Green Forest High School in 1995 and immediately enlisted in the Navy to begin the process of achieving his lifelong dream of becoming a Navy SEAL. According to the Green Forest Mayor Charlie Reese, Senior Chief Ratzliff developed a reputation as one of the most highly decorated officers in this elite unit, but humbly remained grounded. The mayor called him a high-class young man. Senior Chief Ratzliff was 34 at the time of his death. Air Force Tech Sergeant John W. Brown of Siloam Springs, Arkansas, was also killed in that attack. An accomplished athlete in his youth, Sergeant Brown played football and basketball. He went to John Brown University on a swimming scholarship. In Siloam Springs, he was known for his positive attitude, his intelligence, and his sense of humor. After seeing a video of Special Operations Unit, he abandoned plans to become a nurse anesthetist and enlisted in the Air Force to become a medic, where he was assigned to the elite 24th Special Tactics Squadron at Pope Field, North Carolina. Sergeant Brown was 33 at the time of his death. This is something that we need to remember, not just on anniversary dates, but at all times. It should serve as the ultimate reminder that we in this chamber have an obligation to come together and to make this country a better place. I ask my colleagues in the Senate to join me in honoring their lives and their legacy, as well as the sacrifice of all that have fought and died in Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Operation New Dawn. Let us never forget their sacrifices, and let their legacies be an inspiration for every American. Mr. President, I yield back and note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll. The senator from Michigan.
Before the clerk calls roll,